Morning, everybody. Carter Krishnaiyer here. Quick update. Obviously, I think everybody has now seen the news that the USL Players Association and the USL have reached an agreement. I would call it a tentative agreement. It has not been papered yet, but it will hold. I got less sleep than I usually do last night because I was talking to a couple sources on both sides. Things had reached a critical stage, but also they were very close to an agreement as of 48 hours ago. And there was some conversation amongst USL owners. And I think there was pressure from a group of owners and a set of clubs. And I'm going to wait until the ink dries on this agreement, until they announce the agreement and the full details of the agreement. And I do a little more digging and reporting to talk about which clubs were on which side of this, which clubs were on the other side. But the clubs that most wanted an agreement really began to push Wednesday morning. And obviously Thursday, there was a bomb dropped in the room, which was the MLS Next Pro equity investment and the changes to the PLS, which USL owners were aware of. And in fact, I had heard about this from USL owners. I just did not know that they had published the standards because US Soccer neglected to notify the media or really anyone on the outside that they had officially changed the Pro League standards, and they had shifted a lot of things, and that opened the door for the private equity investment that MLS got. If you want more details on that, check out that video. So what does this agreement do as far as I know? I think it's a good agreement for both sides based on talking to people on both sides last night. I think it is something that will, excuse me, early morning. It will, I believe, give us a framework for the league to elevate itself. And that's really important given what happened yesterday with MLS Next Pro. This will give a framework for really high labor standards, really good compensation for a number of years going forward for the players, the sort of professionalization that we need to see at all levels of the USL Championship when it comes to things like travel, when it comes to things like meals, when it comes to things like training sites, when it comes to licensing, which we've talked about a lot. But things like training, meals, travel, it's not something fans always think about. It's not something people on the outside always think about. That stuff has been elevated by this agreement. Now, it will cost USL and USL owners in particular, a little more money, but will also raise the standard to a place that takes lower division soccer and potentially the USL Premier into an absolutely new paradigm, which is critical given yesterday's news. Now, real quickly, before I go, and as I said, I'm going to let the players and management have their day today, announce the agreement, and then we will come back with some more analysis on the backside. But I wanted to give some initial analysis and some initial thought. I have to say that I think everybody sees the MLS Next Pro piece as a threat. There are no labor standards to speak of in MLS Next Pro. Now, do we trust that the infusion of private equity cash and the seriousness with which that entity is going to be built out will give players the sort of standards that USL has achieved in the lower division space? No, we don't. And in fact, I think a lot of players are nervous about it. A lot of players are nervous about potentially being left to the mercy of Major League Soccer and their whims. Because if they don't have any competition in the marketplace, we know how they behave anyway. If they don't have any competition in the marketplace, you can rest assured they're not going to give the sort of things that the management of USL has given in this agreement, which we will see presumably later today. It might be early next week. And I think from a fan standpoint, look, I touched on this yesterday. I'm in my 50s. I've done a lot of things in my career. I was very involved in politics. I write about history. I have a kind of hobby in the airline industry and the history of business and things like that. Nothing has given me the fulfillment and meaning outside my own family, right? That lower division soccer in the United States has, from being a fan to working at the NASL for many years, to working at NASL clubs, to consulting for USL and NPSL clubs, to doing bonding with the supporters, the camaraderie, the shared sense of purpose, the shared sense of sacrifice. I'm sorry. I mean, maybe whatever floats your boat, of course. But for me personally, and I know for many others like me, MLS does not provide that. And MLS Next Pro will not provide that. So from a standpoint, let's just take my journalist hat off here and be a fan for a minute. USL getting its act together, and USL being in a position to fight off this hostile threat from MLS Next Pro, with USL management, ownership, and players being in unison to fight off this threat, I think is the best possible outcome for everybody who have my worldview, and I think many of the people who subscribe to Beyond the 90 and are involved in the lower division space. So I think it's a very, very, yesterday wasn't a good day until late. It was a very bad day. I called it a red letter day, but to me it was kind of in many ways a dark day. Now it turned into a great day. Now, again, I don't want to say I don't want MLS Next Pro to fail or MLS Next Pro to go away. But what I do want to see is competition in the marketplace. What I do want to see is opportunities for players. What I do want to see is labor standards. What I do want to see is supporters' cultures. I don't want to see mixed soccer. So understand that. I think more opportunities for players, more opportunities for player growth, all of that is great, and MLS Next Pro provides that. But MLS Next Pro, understand, if USL were to disappear from the marketplace, would be something very different and very sinister. Just understand that. That is MLS's mentality. So anyway, it's a good day, and let's wait to see the agreement itself, and we can go through some of the finer points of it at that point.